Welcome to the deep dive. We're here to pull out the key ideas from sources you're interested in, making things clear without, you know, drowning you in information.
Exactly. And today we're digging into Tara Westover's world through some selected bits from the lit chart on her memoir, Educated. It's quite a story.
Oh, absolutely. Educated, it's this incredible account, isn't it? Tara's path from this really isolated fundamentalist background in Idaho
Super isolated, yeah.
all the way to a PhD from Cambridge. And the core of it really is this clash between her family's world, their beliefs, and her drive for education, for something different.
That's the heart of it. And for you listening, if you want to get the gist of big topics quickly, get those aha moments without wading through everything, well, this is for you.
Right.
We're aiming to give you a solid feel for the essence of Tara's early life and her first big steps towards learning, all based on these lit chart notes.
Okay, so our mission today, unpack the main themes, the key moments of her childhood, and that initial pull towards education using the material provided. So where does it all kick off?
It starts on Bucks Peak, rural Idaho. And this place, it's not just scenery, it's everything. It shaped their whole self-sufficient kind of survivalist way of life.
Driven by the father, Gene.
Yeah, entirely. His really extreme Mormon fundamentalist views, plus this deep paranoia, government conspiracies, schools being evil, doctors being dangerous.
Wow.
He was convinced the days of abomination were coming, that they were always being watched. That worldview just dictated everything.
And that suspicion, it had real-world consequences for things like health and, well, school.
Oh, absolutely. Huge consequences. Because Gene distrusted doctors so much, they relied purely on, like, faith healing and home remedies, even for really serious stuff.
No hospitals.
Nope. And formal schooling was out, too. Learning was the Bible, basically, and the skills you needed to survive on the mountain. It was about being separate from the corrupt outside world.
And Tara's mother, Faye, the lit chart, mentions a car accident that had a lasting impact.
Yeah, that was significant. She suffered brain damage, untreated, of course, which led to chronic migraines, memory problems.
Well,
And it pushed her deeper into things like muscle testing, this idea that your body knows things, and her essential oils business.
right, the oils. That became pretty successful, surprisingly.
It did, yeah, financially successful, which is interesting given their anti-establishment stance.
Did the lit chart say how they squared that,
Yeah.
making money in the system they rejected?
It mentions the money mostly went back into preparing for the end of days, buying supplies, reinforcing that self-sufficiency, so it still fit the narrative in a way.
Okay. And amidst all this, you have young Tara, who apparently started wanting something different.
Yeah, even as a kid, she had this pull towards a more, I guess, normal life. Things like music, local theater, they gave her little windows into that.
Connections outside the family bubble.
Exactly. Positive connections with friends, and initially even with her brother Sean. These things planted a seed, a curiosity about the world beyond Bucks Peak.
But that relationship with Sean, it changes drastically, doesn't it? That sounds like a really dark turn.
It is, and it's insidious, the way it's described. It wasn't sudden. It sort of creeps up, stalking, harassment, then physical and emotional abuse, all directed at Tara.
And he just dismissed it.
Yeah, his line was always that it was just fun and games, which is just chilling, really. It shows this manipulation, this denial of reality within the family.
And Tara, at first, she tried to explain his violence away, thinking it was because of his own injuries.
Right. Sean had them bad accidents, construction work, resulting in brain injuries. And for young Tara, that seemed like an explanation for why he was becoming so violent.
A way to make sense of it.
Probably. A coping mechanism, maybe. But the abuse continued, and she started to realize, no, this goes deeper. I need to get away. That was a big shift in her thinking.
The lit chart talks about a cyclical nature of abuse and reconciliation. That sounds incredibly confusing and harmful.
Deeply harmful. He'd be abusive, then maybe apologize, bring a gift, creating this awful cycle of hope and then more violence.
Keeping her off balance.
Totally. And it took a huge toll. She became withdrawn, physically sick sometimes. You see the psychological weight of it.
And the family's general approach to accidents, like with her brother Luke's severe burn, it really reinforces their whole worldview, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Luke gets this terrible burn, and the family relies only on Faye's homemade salves, no doctors.
And they saw it as proof.
Proof of their faith, proof of Faye's healing powers. It's a stark example of ideology overriding basic safety. And interestingly, the lit chart notes that Tara, Richard, and Luke remember that event differently.
Memory being subjective.
Especially in that environment, yeah. And then Faye's own accident, the brain injury. refusing medical help again. It just highlights the father's control and how their self-reliance could be genuinely self-destructive.
So with all this chaos swirling around, what really starts pushing Tara towards education as, like, an escape route?
Well, every time she went home for summers or holidays, she was back in it. Sean's violence, her dad's tirades, her mom seeming kind of indifferent. It just kept reinforcing this feeling of, I need something else.
The contrast became sharper.
Exactly. The contrast between life on the mountain and the possibilities she was starting to imagine.
And her father having a similar burn accident to Luke's.
Yeah.
That must have hit home for her.
Yeah. That parallel seems really significant. Seeing that pattern repeat. Yeah. This cyclical and nonsensical suffering, as the lit chart puts it, probably fueled her disillusionment. Like, this doesn't have to be this way.
Which leads to the huge step of applying to study abroad. Cambridge. That's worlds away.
A massive leap. It was her first real, concrete move towards breaking free, even though she was apparently terrified, felt totally unprepared, given her background.
Understandably.
Yeah, but it shows incredible courage.
And how did Cambridge go? It must have been a culture shock, to say the least.
Oh, completely. A different planet. She felt, like an imposter, totally out of her depth academically at first.
But she found support.
Yeah, thankfully. Some professors saw her potential, her raw intelligence, despite the gaps in her formal knowledge. They encouraged her, which must have been crucial.
Gave her some validation.
Exactly, which she probably wasn't getting at home.
So then going back to Idaho after that,
yeah,
must have made the differences even starker.
Right. That trip home seems to be when it really hit her. Her parents' worldview wasn't going to change. It was fixed.
And that solidified her next move.
It seems so. That's when she decided to go for the PhD at Cambridge. A more permanent break, a commitment to building her own life, her own understanding.
And we see her taking other steps too, right? Like getting vaccinations, studying feminism, things directly contradicting her upbringing.
Yes, those are important milestones, each one a small act of claiming her own mind, her own body, stepping further away from the life prescribed for her.
But pursuing this path, it seems to really ramp up the conflict with her family, especially around Sean's abuse extending to others.
Yeah, things escalate. Sean becomes abusive towards his wife, Emily, and Tara's sister, Audrey, also reveals experiences with him.
So it wasn't just Tara he targeted.
No, and this forces the issue. Tara can't ignore it, seeing it happen to others.
And she and Audrey try to confront the family together. How did that go?
Initially, they planned to. But Audrey eventually backed down, terrified of being cut off by the family.
Leaving Tara to face him alone.
Pretty much, isolated again. Which just shows the immense pressure within that family system to conform, to stay silent.
Then comes that incident with the knife. The lit chart paints a really terrifying picture.
It's incredibly disturbing. Tara confronts her parents about Sean's threats, apparently having evidence or corroboration from Audrey initially. But her parents demand absolute proof. They side with Sean.
Even when he threatens her.
Even when he threatens Tara with a bloody knife right there in front of them, and they don't defend her. It's a profound betrayal.
Unbelievable. That must have just broken something.
You have to assume so. A real turning point. She sees clearly where their loyalties lie, and it's not with her safety.
The psychological impact of that level of betrayal must have been immense.
Absolutely devastating. She retreats to Cambridge, but she's plagued by night terrors, severe anxiety, depression.
I understand.
And Sean keeps threatening her from afar, with her parents backing him up. She starts questioning her own sanity, her memories, because her family is just constantly gaslighting her, denying her reality.
That's the insidious part of emotional abuse, isn't it? Making you doubt yourself.
Exactly. It cuts right to your core sense of reality.
And even getting into Harvard, this amazing achievement, didn't fix it.
It seems not entirely. The lit chart suggests that while it was a huge accomplishment, the trauma was still weighing on her so heavily she couldn't really enjoy it or feel its significance fully. The wounds were too deep.
And then her parents show up at Harvard. What was that about?
Another attempt to pull her back, to reconvert her, essentially. They offered her a way back home, but it was conditional.
Oh, I know.
On her basically taking back everything, denying the abuse, conforming to their narrative again.
Wow. And she didn't.
No, she refused. But the pull of family is strong, right? She makes this desperate trip back to Idaho, hoping maybe for some kind of reconciliation.
Only to find out?
She discovers emails her mother had written, calling her a liar, denouncing her. It was the final confirmation there was no going back, not on their terms.
So she leaves. For good, potentially.
It seems like it. An abrupt departure after realizing the door was truly closed by them. A painful but maybe necessary final break.
But even being physically away, finishing the PhD wasn't easy.
No, the struggle continued. Completing the doctorate while dealing with all that emotional fallout, the isolation from her family, it was incredibly difficult.
But her brother Tyler, he steps up.
He does, and it's crucial. Tyler takes her side, denounces their parents' actions, and cuts ties himself.
That must have meant the world to her.
Huge. That validation from someone inside the family, confirming her reality, gave her the strength to seek counseling and push through to finish the PhD. It shows how vital just one supportive voice can be.
And after all that, she finds some happiness, some peace.
Yes, there's a sense of hard-won happiness, finishing the degree, moving to London with her partner, Drew. But there's also this understanding that she needed one more trip back to Buck's Peak.
Why? To confront them again.
Not necessarily confront, maybe more to reclaim her own story on her own terms, to face the past physically.
And that trip coincided with her grandmother's funeral. What was that like?
It really highlighted the divide. The family members who got educated, like Tara and Tyler, were clearly separate from those who stayed within the parents' orbit.
Still fractured.
Very much so, though she does connect with some of her mother's estranged sisters, suggesting maybe some connections are possible outside that immediate toxic dynamic.
So, pulling it all together from these lit chart excerpts, what are the big overarching themes you see in Tara's story?
Well, first, there's this really powerful idea about what education even means. For Tara, it's way more than books and classrooms, right?
Right, it's transformation.
It's transformation, self-discovery, learning from painful life experiences just as much as from academia. Then there's the sheer challenge of entering that academic world with basically zero formal background. Learning not just facts, but how to think critically, how society works.
And memory is huge, too.
Oh, absolutely. How unreliable memory can be, how families can construct shared narratives that deny truth, especially abuse. Tyler validating her memories was key to her regaining her sanity, really.
Yeah.
And finally, just the pervasiveness of abuse in that family, how it got normalized, and Tara's incredible determination to finally name it and confront that history.
Okay, so wrapping up this deep dive, Tara's journey, as seen through these notes, is just phenomenal. From that extreme isolation and fundamentalist world to Cambridge, but marked by so much struggle, conflict, and this evolving grasp of what education means, the tricks memory plays, the scars of abuse.
Definitely. And the key things for you, the listener, to maybe take away are that stark contrast between her raw ability and lack of schooling, the sheer power of those ingrained family beliefs, and how education in its broadest sense became her tool for liberation, for finding herself.
It really makes you think, doesn't it? About how much our own families, our backgrounds, shape our view of reality without us even realizing it sometimes, and how hard it is to break free from those patterns. What does it really mean to be educated anyway, beyond just degrees?
That's the big question, isn't it? A really good one to chew on. And look, if this dive into the lit chart analysis got you thinking, you should definitely consider reading the full memoir. Educated itself goes so much deeper into Tara Westover's experiences and how she makes sense of it all.